Hello, lovely friends. How are you all doing today? I hope you're well. Oh, goodness me. What a crazy time we're living in. I thought I'd just touch on with you today. I'm not a daily vlogger. I don't think I'm going to turn into a daily vlogger. Not normally anyway, but look, obviously we're living in an odd time at the moment. Things are changing on an almost daily basis. That's having an impact on all of our lives, of course, isn't it? So, yeah, I think I'm going to, from time to time, in addition to, don't worry, I'm going to be in the garden and do way more gardening videos again. But I think from time to time, as subjects come up and as I get loads of messages sent to me asking me stuff, I'm going to address some of it from time to time from my little thoughts on corner. And just to say, I've got a beer with me today. Cheers, everyone. This is the new norm, isn't it? Well, not too normal. I had some beers the other day. I had my Friday night out in the pub at home, and I've got a couple of leftover beers from that, and seeing as it's now 5:45 in the afternoon and I've worked all day, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have myself a little beer while I chat with you all. So, goodness me, yes, things are moving very quickly, aren't they? And what I just wanted to chat about today, without being too heavy about things, is all these changes we're going through. And I think fundamentally, just to say very quickly, you all know by now, you know me well enough, that I try to find the positives in life. I only had 2 sips. I've had that much, I can't speak. I try to bring levity to a situation if it's appropriate, etc., blah, blah, blah. We're in a bit of a pickle, aren't we? Look, this situation is very, very serious, and by the time this video goes out, who knows, and maybe London will be in lockdown too. I think it already should be. Not going to go into politics and talk about any of our leaders. I'm giving myself my own personal lockdown. But the bottom line is, whatever stage your country is at, we are all experiencing changes to our most basic ways of living every day, whether it's how you go to work, how you do your shopping, how you look after your kids. Pretty much every single aspect of our lives at the moment has been turned upside down, and like I say, at great speed. So I just wanted to talk today about this idea that, it's not idea, it is real, of change in general. And I think first of all, we need to take a deep breath. I don't want anyone to panic, and I have seen so many sort of scaremongering, panic-driving posts on Facebook and on Facebook groups, even garden groups. It's doing my nut. Let us not spread the panic and all that, but let's talk calmly about how we're all feeling. And I think the biggest thing at the moment is, let's acknowledge, I think we're all in shock. I don't think there's any two ways about it. We're in shock. None of us, I'm going to get a bit weepy now, not because of the situation, just because of the enormity. None of us have ever experienced anything like this. So there isn't a rule book. There isn't, it's not like you can go and buy Marie Kondo's guide to living in lockdown, you know. She tells us how to clean, but not how to live in lockdown or social isolation, what have you. So yeah, none of us have ever seen anything like this. We haven't ever experienced anything like it. The closest parallels probably, or what's tending to come out is people are looking at, say, the Second World War. But let's remember that a lot of changes that were put in place during the Second World War, those were happening gradually. Those were happening over weeks or over months. And the changes we're having to cope with are sometimes being imposed on an hourly basis. So let's be sensible. Let's acknowledge that we're all in shock. That actually no one knows what to do, what's best to do. Of course, we're looking to our governments for our leadership of when should we go out, when should we stay home. The advice is very, 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 very clear. Don't leave your house unless absolutely necessary. So we're getting that good advice from the top. Meanwhile, we're all at home, and now suddenly a lot of us have got our kids at home, we're working from home. Literally everything has changed. Every aspect of our lives has changed. So I suppose one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about this today is to just say, you know what, don't be hard on yourself and on those around you. None of us know the right way or the best way to live at the moment. We are adjusting. Let's give ourselves a break and let's say, you know what, on Monday morning, when I would have normally been going to the office and I've got to work from home and my kids are at home because they're not at school, Monday is not going to be, I think you're going to see this on Monday, Monday is not going to be your normal Monday. It's not going to be the same. And, excuse me, it's going to take us all a while to get organised. So please, 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 give yourself a break if your household is not perfect today or tomorrow. Give yourself a break if you tried to work for your normal 8 hours at the desk, but actually you only managed 3 hours because the kids were jumping off the walls and screaming at you and you had to sort them out. It's going to take a while for us all to establish a new routine. That's okay. So I think a few things here. Let's acknowledge that we're all in shock. Let's acknowledge it's going to take time to find the new normal, to find new routines and establish them. Let's also acknowledge that not everybody responds to this situation in the same way. You know, I'm sure we all have those friends who are freak out panicking, like seriously through the roof panicking. Some people, that's how they're going to react. That's okay. That's who they are. That's how they are. The best we can do as friends is to try and reassure them that, you know, we're still there for them. Some people will react with humour, and it may seem at times that humour, it might seem inappropriate, it might seem a bit sick, but that's their way of coping. And that's what this all boils down to, is how do we all cope? So let's none of us judge each other for the way we cope. If someone is having a freak out panic, try and calm them down. If someone's doing humour that you find inappropriate, just don't look at that humour, but that's how they're coping, so let them do that. This is a time for us all to stop judging each other and, like I say, take those deep breaths. We're all going to cope differently. What's becoming increasingly clear and important is the need for us all to use this wonderful medium we have called social media, technology, whatever it is. Stay connected with your friends. Richard and Paul were mentioning in their Sunday chat yesterday that actually we had the most glorious Friday night, me in my kitchen, them in their living room, via video chat. I had a few pints, not a few pints, well probably I did have a few pints. Brilliant, brilliant. It was kind of like normal, even though it was a bit weird. The great thing was there was no commute home afterwards. We finished our chat. 5 minutes later, I was in bed, snoring. Fantastic. Yeah. We need a global deep breath. So, I'm gonna wrap up now. I don't want to rattle on too much. I've got a few ideas about things I might say about... Actually, no, let me just say very quickly about having the kids at home, because folk have asked me about this too. You know your kids best, and obviously kids vary in age and ability. You know, a 4-year-old and a 14-year-old, you're going to speak to them very, very differently. But based on my experience of working with parents on the ward, honesty is always the best policy. If your kids are asking you about what's going on, of course you're going to need to explain it, because they know something's up. And obviously you're going to explain it hopefully in terms that aren't too scary, dramatic, what have you. Keep your kids connected with their friends as far as possible. Look, I think this is a lesson for us all at the moment, actually. Suddenly we're all at home, we're not at work. It's not a holiday. We're not, oh my goodness, this weekend, people have been crowding the beaches because it's been sunny. We're not on holiday. We have to try to have our normal work life, our normal kid, as far as possible. We aren't on holiday, so let's try and establish these new routines whilst still getting to grips with this shock and this change that we're all going through. But I think that's true with the kids as well, is we want to keep them occupied. We want to keep them disciplined and structured and in a routine. However, it's really, really important, I think, that to recognise that their understanding of the situation, if you think how hard we're struggling to understand the situation, imagine what it's like for the kids. So, look, if after 15 minutes of reading, your kid freaks out, doesn't want to read anymore, and actually what they need is cuddles, kisses, sofa time, curling up with a video, that's what we'll do for now. Because their mental health is way more important than their continuing education at the moment. Not forever. I mean, their mental health is always going to be important. But if it takes a few days, a few weeks to get into a new normal routine, in that meantime, if your kids are struggling, don't try to be forcing the education. Do the love and cuddles. And perhaps it's going to be a time where you let them use their social media more. They're on their tablet or watching TV way longer than you would normally allow them. Extraordinary circumstances, because let's face it, aren't us adults spending more time on social media than we ever used to? So why shouldn't the kids have that too? Just as a little coda to that, check all the parental settings on your social media that your kids are using. I'm sure you all have them in place anyway, but I do think kids are going to be spending way more time on social media now, so let's get all those parental checks in place. Yes, so I wasn't going to talk about that today, but, well, just stick it in there. The other thing a lot of you have been asking about, and I'm going to deal with it separately because I just don't know where I'm at with it, is a couple of days ago, all nurses and doctors who have either retired or left the profession within the last 3 years, we've all had our call-up papers, as it were. I made the cut by 1 month. So, I'm not going to talk about it today. It's a massive, massive dilemma for me for various reasons, which is why I won't touch on it today. However, it's really, really great that we are now in a position where some of those ex-nurses and doctors are being invited back, and a lot of people have said, yes, we're coming back, which is fantastic. So, what are the positives at the moment? Let's find some positives. The biggest positive is, at the moment, it's okay to not be okay. You know, everyone's dealing with this in their own way, in different ways, and it's going to take some time to adjust. And you know what? That's fine. However you're coping, however you're adjusting, it's fine. If you're really struggling, there are lots of resources. I believe in the UK anyway that Samaritans are still manning their phones. There's all sorts of online resources. Check them out. Don't be on your own. If you're struggling, reach out, not physically, but reach out to someone. There will be someone there to hold your hand, metaphorically. For the rest of us, let's plant our seeds as normal as possible. Let's go with the flow. Let's minimise our exposure to social media, the negative stuff and the news. Let's do what we're told by our leaders. But for the rest of the time, let's just try to begin to formulate our new normal. And all the time that we're doing that, let's just bear in mind our friends, our neighbours, people in our community. And maybe this time will show us that we actually are an amazing animal, this human race, that we actually will reach out to others, embrace them, again, metaphorically. We're there to help each other. If ever there was a time, it's now. So, stay at home, wash your hands, allow yourself some time to get used to this. Don't expect tomorrow to be perfect and everything in place. It's not going to be, but you know what? It will be eventually. So please take care of yourselves. I love you all to bits. And I will see you again really soon. And the next time it will be in the garden. So until then, deep breath. Cheerio.